Good, good.
And you missed the opportunity to practice the song with us by today.
We are moving along. Thank you.
When you get back.
Thank you for coming to the afternoon session.
Thank you for inviting us to the afternoon session.
It's my delight. It's my pleasure to sit in the back. And Squeak and Tom and Robin Bitters are here to do this next piece between now and 1:30. And if you would give them all the great attention that you gave to this morning, that would be terrific. I hand it over to you guys. All right.
So we had an assessment summit in Washington, D.C. in February, and a few of you were there. And part of what came out of that was some questions about what resources we have about alumni and who has them, how people use them, who can use them, and how do you reach out to get them. And so Tom and Robin and I have been meeting off and on to really figure out the best way to present you with that information. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over first to Tom, who's going to tell you about, alumni contacts and how to get information about alumni. I will talk a little bit about LinkedIn. It's a resource that, if you have a LinkedIn account, is great for tracking your alumni. And then Robin will talk about some of the most recent alumni surveys. So I'll turn it over to Tom.
Okay, thank you all for having me here today. I appreciate it. As probably you all know, our advancement office has been in a building phase for the past couple of years, but we're now at a place where I think we're really moving forward in a very positive direction for the organization. Our main goals obviously are to raise visibility and private support for the organization. And then we also maintain a database of alumni. And this is sort of, I think, what's most relevant to our conversation today, and that's what I'll just focus on. We have a database of about 12,453 as of today, S.I.T. grad alumni. We work on a constant basis to try to keep that database as updated and clean as possible, but it's a never-ending issue. We can never have 100% good addresses for all S.I.T. grad alumni because everyone's moving on a constant basis. But we do maintain it, and we do work, again, on a regular basis with the national change of address updates and getting new email penned updates and getting phone numbers added to the records, working with outside vendors to basically make sure we have as much good information as we can, and we track it all the time. We're trying to get better at it. We have about 66, we have emails for about 66% of those, that 12,000 grad alumni. We have good addresses for about 64% of them, phone numbers for about 54%. Now, those are what we think are good addresses and emails, and it changes on a daily basis. What's a good address today is wrong tomorrow. But we're constantly working to update it. We work with communications to make sure alumni, those alumni who we have email addresses for, receive the monthly e-newsletter that everyone sees, I'm sure. And we also do other outreach as we can, mostly electronically. We have an annual report that goes out every year. There's a small amount of written information, published annual reports that we distribute, and then we try to get as many people to look at it online as possible through various modes. And our alumni relations function is something we're really trying to focus on and improve as we move into the next year. We're working with Daniel and the committee that's going to be talking about the 50th anniversary. And we're really, want to work with the faculty to strengthen our alumni relations across the board through all the programs, but certainly I think with grad alumni, there's a lot of potential and capacity to work together to do good things for the organization. We know that you know a lot of the alumni better than anyone else, and so we want to support those relationships and support your outreach to those folks, and then also be in the loop on it, because we know that there's alumni relations happening throughout this organization, but it's not necessarily all collected in one place, and we sort of want to be the place to collect that and to track that. So what I'm here to say is we want to work with you if you're going to conferences or if you're going traveling to a different part of the country or the world and want to try to get a group of alumni together for coffee or whatever, we're happy to provide lists to you. We'd like a couple of weeks' notice if you know you're going in order to provide those lists, but just come to us and we can get you a list of all S.I.T. grad alum, or however you'd like to cut it, within a radius of where you're going. And that information, if you're working with alumni on a regular basis, please let us know. If you have informal committees, that's really important information for us to have too, because we have 12,000 alumni. I think there was somewhere around 250 of those alumni made a gift back to the organization last year. Not that it's all about giving, but obviously resources are important. And it's good for us to know of that extra 11,800 people, who's more connected than others, and we need to know that so that we can try to focus with those people a little more. That's kind of the extent of what I have to say, other than I can answer questions or we can just move on. Yes.
Would you be so kind actually to share with me and perhaps my colleagues about the ends, so the visions as to alumni networking as a means, meaning that what does alumni networking lead to?
Sure.
Are we envisioning something concrete?
I think that that alumni networking leads to a lot of positive ends. It certainly, keeping alumni connected to the organization, to the Graduate Institute, basically lets them, gives all alumni more value to the degree that they receive from this institute, because there's power in alumni network in terms of finding new jobs, finding practicum experiences for our current students, internship experiences, all of those things. And the more of that happens, the more positive feelings there are about the Graduate Institute, which helps in admissions, with recruiting new students, and it helps in raising resources for the organization. Some people, fundraising is uncomfortable for a lot of people, and knowing that part of, certainly, in all honesty, part of our means to the power of a strong alumni network is that they'll give back. But that's what we need in order to increase the resources for the organization and to do more of the great work that you all are doing.
I think we had a conversation about this after the telethon thing, which is that there are a lot of alumni who've asked, were you going to have reunions? And some alumni have gone ahead and done that themselves. And I think part of the giving back is sort of providing professional connections for them themselves.
Sure.
Maybe some professional development, something for them, but I'm thinking more in terms of the reunion idea. And are you working with that idea?
Well, I think that is definitely part of the conversation around the 50th anniversary. I think that's an opportunity to provide some of that we know alumni are looking for. Honestly, like all of us in this organization, part of it is a resource allocation thing, and we have to focus on what's going to raise the most money in a lot of ways, but it obviously goes hand in hand. You can't raise money if people are not feeling connected to the organization and positive about it. So we understand the connection. We're trying to sort of balance that the best we can.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
I know we've talked about this in the past, that there are certain scholarship funds that may be more relevant to alums in different programs. How are those advertised now? How do people know about that they can contribute to X1 versus Y?
That's a good question, and I think that's an area that we need to work on and to help publicize that. We have done a lot. I'm on a committee that's really looked at all the scholarships to try to make sure we know all the scholarships that are out there internally and how they're to be used and who to report back to if there are donors still around who created these funds. So I think we've done a better job on that side. I think we still have work to do to get the word out to alumni that you can support these funds as well. We do things, again, in the annual report to try to focus on a couple of those. Last year we did something on the Russ Bickler Scholarship, which was a newly created scholarship for international students. We did something on a contact scholarship that was created. So we try to publicize them those ways, but I think we still have a lot of work to do. And I think one way to do that will be the website, to really try to get those more publicized on our web as we redesign it.
Well, we have a question for you. Where is it that the buck stops? Because we have been asking you this question for the last 3 years, and we get basically the same answer. And it seems that it's not so difficult to have some of these scholarships advertised. And, you know,
Well,
we can do a better job. So
Where do we
clearly
at?
somewhere somebody makes this decision, because it's a matter of kind
Well,
of putting it out
I
there.
mean,
on the web.
honestly, it's a matter of we don't have an alumni magazine. We don't have our newsletter is not solely aimed at alumni. So there's really no automatic place to advertise these in a daily. We don't mail to 12,000 alumni every year. We don't have the funds to do those things. So it's a matter of there's not really natural places to advertise these that are going to reach every alum. You know, we're hoping that we can do more of that again on the website, but it's, you know, a process of redesigning the website that's taken a long time. So those are some of the issues that we're dealing with. But, you know, one thing that we'd be interested in doing potentially is doing more targeted emails that I could work with folks on about some of these scholarships as well, so that people know. Yes.
I think I'm really new to this thinking about the alumni network, right? You have thought about this very deeply. But just out of naivete, to me, as you mentioned, the alumni networking has like 10 or 20 purposes. One is, one is the placement and internship.
Mm-hmm.
Second is fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
Third is recruitment of students. Fourth is guest speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth is potential faculty pool.
Sure.
And the sixth is gender equity, any of the issues people working on, those connectors, you know, advance the causes for which they strive.
Sure.
And the list goes on and on and on. And it doesn't require even emailing. I think it's a Facebook page or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let them actually organize, make it so exciting that you don't have to do too much, ideally, in theory.
No, I think that's...
Yeah, and then the reason I mention this is that I think the more kind of conceptualization of those things that takes place, and the more we know about it, let's say for guest speakers and whatnot, the more we can actually tap into those resources.
Mm-hmm.
The less organized, less likely that one would tap into the resources. So I think that's where I think your advising is going to be quite valuable in the context of resource scarcity. Yeah.
No, I think that's a very good point. And there, again, you named 6, but many more reasons why it's important.
Now, one last thing about
Sure.
this idea that Elka was just talking about and that Tots had raised. You know, I think that if you got that list and you emailed that list to all the faculty and honestly all members of the board and the staff, just thinking here, then before the website get going, we would be able to, you know, to people that have come that are interested in the program. Do you know what I mean? We could send that out to people that we know that are alumni. I was just trying to help out the beginning process.
Sure.
Once the list is together.
Right.
Just thinking of it in waves,
Sure.
you know what I mean? And
Sure.
I would love to get a list of this.
Okay, and that's the list we do have now. I mean, it took a little time putting it together, but we have that list, and we have it broken out by, you know, Grad Institute and, you know, endowed funds and current funds, you know, current.
So that would be
funds.
great to
So,
get that if you could.
Sure. I will work on it. All right. I think we'll turn it over to Squeak. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to talk a little bit about resources that you may already have at your fingertips and not know that you have. How many of you have LinkedIn pages? That's good. That's really good. How many of you know that we have a LinkedIn page called the S.I.T. Graduate Student and Alumni Group that has almost 2,000 students and alumni in it? Okay, that's good. It's under here, under groups. And scrolling down, it's right here. It's a pretty active group. There's postings just about 4 to 5 times a week, so just about every day someone's posting something, and they're pretty interesting. So again, if you need to reach out to a large group of people, they're listening, they're writing to each other. That is a great way to access them. But I think part of the question that we've had is, well, where are our students? They move around so much. We don't necessarily know who's in what location or what they're doing. You know, they had this job with the Hunger Project, and now they're at Tetra Tech Art, and we didn't even know that they moved, and how do we keep track of them? And that's the beauty of, for me, LinkedIn, because as opposed to them having to go to a different type of directory to update their data, they're doing it for their own professional development. And so I want to show you something that you might not be aware of, and that is when you go to the top of this LinkedIn screen, there's something that's called Network and Find Alumni. Now, the Find Alumni is really based on the profile of the person who has written it. So I graduated from the S.I.T. Graduate Institute. That's the name of the school that I graduated from. So when I clicked on Find Alumni, it's going to find, oh, actually, I graduated from the School for International Training. See? Mad, along with about 5,000 other people. But right here, it automatically defaults to my profile. These are the years that I was a student here at S.I.T. And it's not saying anybody without dates. It's just showing you really a basic idea of who those people are. But you can go in and you can change dates. You can widen it. And you'll see that this starts off with 1,000. I've just brought it up to 3,000. If I bring it up to 13, and I include people with no dates, just brought it up to 5,000 people that have put on their profile that they're a part of the School for International Training. You can go and look up people from different schools, such as you could go in here and you could type in the S.I.T. Graduate Institute. There's about 500 people who have identified that way, as opposed to the School for International Training. But what is interesting is that you can really see where they are, so you can sort by different locations. If you don't see a location that you're interested in, you can type it in, and you usually find somebody. It's amazing where we all are. You can look at the different organizations that they work for. You can look at what they do. You can also look at what they're skilled at. So some of these are looking at, you know, conflict or international education or something that might not necessarily be in a job description or be in a where they work, but really gives you a little bit more idea of their skill set and what they're doing. So it helps you to do a search of where they are. Recently, Daniel and I went to San Francisco for an alumni gathering. And it was really useful for me to go in here and say, okay, I got a list from Tom, and I sent a bunch of people invitations out from that. And then I also went to LinkedIn and said, well, who's in San Francisco? And there were a lot more people in there than I had anticipated who may have just recently moved, who were in there, who we actually caught because we were able to see that they were here. And again, this is free. These people are really updating this information. So if you're looking at who's working at X school, who's working at, you know, this organization, you can really keep track of who everybody is, because if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there they are, you know, and you can just keep seeing more and more and more. Oh, hi, Robin. There you are. You know, so depending on their degree, depending on what they're doing, you can, you know, do your own sorts. So I just wanted to share that really quickly because I think that's really fabulous. So does anybody have any questions on that?
So do you have to have your own account to be able to do this?
Yeah, you do have to have an account. I can help you set one up. We're really skilled in that over at Career Services.
So here's my question.
Sure.
How do you prevent 400 of your former students all writing to you and say, I want you to write me a reference?
You can click on the ignore button. You don't have to do anything. Usually right up here, up in these corners here, you'll get a flag of people who are writing to you. or people who want to, yeah, this is a message. These are people, you know, and Hillary just wanted an invitation to somebody. So I can do that or I can ignore it, and this is giving me information on who has looked at my stuff, but I don't have to accept if I don't want to. Yes?
Actually, I do get lots of requests from students to ask me to put a public recommendation, and I've just adopted a policy where I won't, and I tell them that legally I can't proclaim publicly how fabulous an individual is by name, which allows, and I say, because sometimes I couldn't do that for a student. So I said, I'm happy to write you a letter of reference when you're applying for a job, but I won't write a public blurb for everybody. I can't say this is a fabulous person 300 different ways and sound honest about it. So, and they understand, and I won't talk publicly about students, so, in that way. So, that's how I do it.
Could you just send us your little phrase?
Why is that legal?
Purple,
Well,
right?
Well,
She's not talking about educational grades or references.
No, but I just say that I'm not comfortable talking publicly about students when I can't say. No, I might.
What did I
I like the legal part.
Well, I might invoke that as well, because that's my interpretation of her book.
My experience is that the advantages are actually greater than you just, it's just like, I mean, it's like just not answering emails. I observe and I see what's going on, and then I use it. That's true.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Because Squeak and Tom and I had a meeting before, and just for the record, I'm not going to go on that myself, but for our students, we're going to hire the neighborhood person, at least for my degree, maybe for the other degrees, to train students, because I really think it's important for our students to get on the current students for their practicum searches, to get into this network, because we're always saying, there's this great network of S.I.T. students, and I don't think our students tap into it. It's very rare, too rare. So that was a goal for this year, and I highlighted on my list as one of the goals for Daniel, to really get students into this, because it seems like the most pre-existing network we have, and I think we should just build on what we have, and so we'll have a student who's training them how to do it, and at least we'll get all the CTs on there, and it's kind of up to the other degrees if you want to do it.
By capstone time, I swear that 80% of the students are on LinkedIn by then.
We wanted to be 100% when they walked out the door. Yes?
Can you actually shoot a group email with the exact linkage to
Sure.
us?
I mean, again, it's just for how to get onto LinkedIn, or, I mean, do you have a LinkedIn account?
Somebody created for me, I really hate it.
Okay.
That's a personal conversation.
That's fine. And again, if anybody wants to come and see us and see how different this is than Facebook and how more private it is than Facebook, we can have that discussion. I can help you. But I can shoot you the LinkedIn.com. That's all it is. Yeah, I'd like to turn it over to Robin now, who is going to talk a little bit about our evaluations results.
So,
you do your slides?
that'd be great. So I've been in the current position for about 3 years working in assessment, and twice now I've been involved in launching a survey to alumni of the Graduate Institute, and I work with Tom's department to get the email addresses for those so that we can launch a survey, and you're all going to have a handout, but I'm going to show you some slides here to walk you through the results of that survey. So we launched the survey most recently in July to over 4,000 students and had about a 19% response rate. This shows you, of those who responded to the survey, what era they were here in the program. So a lot of them more recent alums, and probably that has to do with we have good contact information for those that are most more recent. No surprise about the percentage of PIM versus MAT, and some identifying themselves as from the DC program also. This question asks them to what extent they have felt that they've stayed connected to the organization. And that gets at what several of you are asking about and what Tom's role is, obviously keeping people involved so that they can support the organization in all different ways. And as you can see, some of them feel that they have managed to stay connected and some don't. One way to be connected, to feel connected, would to acknowledge that they get a newsletter from the organization. Some feel that they get it, some don't, some aren't sure. And as Tom said, there's not really one that's called the alumni newsletter. There's Our World. There are messages that go out to a broad range of people connected to the organization. So this question asks people why they chose S.I.T. And the top 3 reasons were the curriculum and pedagogy, philosophy and values, and the degree matched their career goals. We asked students if they felt that the benefits of attending S.I.T. outweighed the financial costs. And you can see that 39% agreed, 38% strongly agreed, so that's quite a favorable response. We asked them if they would recommend the Graduate Institute. You can see by far most of them would. Other graduate programs that they considered when they were applying here. We asked if they were employed at the time of graduation, and 61% said yes, they were. We asked how they found their first position after they graduated, and by far the most was their practicum placement. How long did they hold that first position? Currently employed, 85% of them said that they are currently employed. And under other, I have to say, it's this box here, a lot of them said retired. And so we need to change the options, I think, next time around to make that more clear. For those that are currently employed, there was a section on this survey, and others that aren't currently employed skipped around that. Does your current job require you to hold a master's degree? About 55% said yes. Where they're currently working, in the U.S., not in the U.S., or both in the U.S. and overseas. Places around the world where our alumni are working. Top. So we asked people where they're working, what their title is. So this is something that probably doesn't translate well to a slide here, but it's something that I'm happy to filter and provide to you. So, for example, if you want me to filter the results of the survey for all those MATs and find out where they are working now and what their job titles are, I can do that for you. If you want to know all of the conflict transformation alumni who answered the survey, find out where exactly they're working and what their job titles are, I can do that for you.
Great.
Right.
Rob, this pie chart here, alumni working in the U.S., and it says both in the U.S. and overseas. I can't quite make sense of this. Does it mean that?
The question asks, are you working in the U.S.? And the answers were yes, no, or the third option was I work both in the U.S. and elsewhere.
Freelance. Or travel.
So in other words, 65% of them work in the U.S.
Yes. So this question asks, to what extent their current job is related to the degree that they got here. And 74% of them said that they agree or strongly agree with the statement that the current job is related to the degree that they got here. This is one of the key questions that we're always interested to see. To what extent do people feel that S.I.T. prepared them well for their current career? So 41% strongly agreed and 41% agreed. So 82% agreed with the statement that S.I.T. prepared me for my current career. We asked people to check what they went on to do after leaving S.I.T., volunteering regularly, participating on a board, presenting at professional conferences, joining professional organizations, going on to get a PhD, another master's degree. Those are the options. We ask people what their income is. That's not something that I'm sharing with others, but it's something that's of interest to the advancement office and overall to get a sense of
Who is that top purple person?
What degree did you?
Yes.
Can you cut this income data by degrees?
Yeah, I can filter the survey by degrees and share that information with you. Yeah. If you send me an email or leave me a voicemail message, I'll be happy to do that for you.
That's ours.
Then this year the marketing department asked us to add a few questions at the end to get reaction to some recent changes on the website. So we asked about the ease of navigation, and 72% said that it was good or excellent, to what extent they were able to find what they were looking for when they went on the website most recently, and to comment about the quality of the content on the website. That's it, I think. Questions for me?
No, thank you.
Teresa.
I was wondering what method, or how did you go about getting responses? What was your, because I noticed that you had 19% response rate. So how did you mail?
No, it's through SurveyMonkey. So we launched an online survey to the 4,200 email addresses that we got from the advancement office, and we share with them these 65 or however many bounced, and so that they can update their records, and then we go from there. I do a series of reminders, so they don't all answer it right away, but over the period of, say, 3 weeks, we get 19% response rate.
I was just wondering if it might be possible to up that response rate, because taking a survey in July might be a bit iffy, right? With holidays and such, people are quite mobile, perhaps, in the middle of the summer. I'm wondering if the questions haven't changed, or if it wouldn't change anything to relaunch the survey.
It is still open, and so I can do that again. And actually, funny you say that, because the last time we did it was November 2011, and we kept the survey open for a month and had maybe 15% response rate. And the provost or president at the time said, let's open it again and try to get some more. And so we opened it for the month of February 2012, and we got up to 19%, which is what we have this time. So, but it's possible. Yeah.
What would you consider for a response rate, something that would give you an accurate picture out there? And I don't have any sense of what 19% means in terms of what the section tells me.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty good. I mean, the surveys that I'm involved in doing, it's all over the board. I mean, for course evaluations or program evaluations, depending on what we're offering them or holding over their head, I mean, we can get 97% response rate on some instruments, and but I feel like this is decent, and I don't have any reason to believe that those who responded to this are saying anything different than those who didn't respond. So I'm not concerned about it, but I'm happy to talk about it if others feel differently. Tom?
I was actually pleasantly surprised by the very positive responses in relation to whether the S.I.T education was worthwhile or contributed to their work. Those are very positive responses. Although I don't have the comparative data, for example, with some other institutions that they might have chosen. But do you have any kind of general sense as to whether that's positive in and of itself or positive in comparison to other?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but I'm happy to look into that for you. I think that in putting together this survey, we did look at other colleges and universities, and so I feel like that is a common question on an alumni survey, and so it would be easy enough to get comparative information for you.
Because I think if our alumni have a particularly positive image, post-graduation, that itself should be known.
Yeah.
For recruitment.
Yeah. Also, the comments, of course, are very illustrative in a lot of these, and so it's one thing to just look at the quantitative results, but the narrative information is telling. And sometimes when they have strong feelings, both on the positive or the negative side, they'll give us copious information right there. So we do share that with the Dean of the Graduate Institute and the Provost and the Alumni Office, the Advancement Office, I should say, the marketing, admissions folks. I've shared it with Squeak, so I'm not sure to what extent that's circulated to others, but I'm happy to share more widely if people have ideas about that. Okay.
Yeah, my question really, it's absolutely fascinating data that you have gathered, and I was going to ask whether we can have access in more detail about the narratives, because, or whether you're planning another sharing with faculty and kind of the wider community, because both the positive and the negative, the positive for boosting morale and the negative for us to do something about it will be extremely helpful. I mean, this is really precious.
I'm open to that. I mean, I can talk to Daniel about it if you'd like to organize a follow-up meeting at a faculty meeting day. If you
Or make
think
it electronically available to, you know, you can limit it to, let's say, whatever circles so people can go into more detail. Yes, it's really, really interesting.
I'm happy to do that. I'm glad you like it. I think we've gone over our allotted time, so I want to thank you.
Thank you very much.